The date was December 2nd, 1898. At 6:24 p.m, an overnight train left Osaka Station on the Sanyo line and started its trek towards Mitajiri Station in Hiroshima Prefecture. Everything was going according to plan, and at 2:46 a.m. that same night, the train made its scheduled stop at Fukuyama Station. It was here, however, that a grisly discovery was made. 45-year-old Captain Adachi Naomi, commander of the Army's 12th Division Fukuoka Regiment, had been killed on board. Who had carried out this horrific act, and perhaps more importantly, why? Captain Adachi had been recuperating at home in Tottori Prefecture from an illness. On December 2nd, he boarded the train at Kamigori Station in Hyogo to make his way back to his place of work in Fukuoka. Being a captain in the army, he carried both a pistol and a short sword on his person, believed to be for self-defense. However, when his body was found, it was discovered that he had used neither of these weapons. Whether this was because he was still recovering from illness, or because his attackers had surprised him, remained unknown. Either way, his weapons remained untouched, and investigators theorized that he had perhaps been attacked while he was asleep. Bafflingly, his possessions remained untouched. Neither his weapons, money, nor anything else had been taken. Whoever killed him, it appeared, had intended to do just that, and that alone. But who, when, and why? Surprisingly, the police wouldn't have to wait long to uncover these answers. That very same night, a man stumbled into the Rokujo-in police station next to Kamogata Station in Okayama, dripping wet and holding even more wet clothes under his arms. He asked if they could assist him in finding some lodgings for the night, yet the sight of the man was suspicious. Police suspected that he jumped from the train to evade fare, or that he had perhaps even committed theft and was unfamiliar with the area. Either way, the police took the man in to ask him a few questions and got a surprising response. "I didn't kill him. It was Motokichi." Until that moment, the police had not considered the man to be a killer, only a potential fare evader or thief. Yet, that slip of the tongue turned the entire tone of the interrogation on its head. A man had been killed? Where, and by whom? And who was this Motokichi? The suspect, 23-year-old Nakajima Tajiro, confessed that he and his friend, 23-year-old Iwanaga Motokichi, had killed a man on the train, although he had no idea where Iwanaga was at that moment. Police immediately set out to find Iwanaga, and again, surprisingly, didn't have to look far. He was sitting in the waiting room at Kamogata Station, right next to the police station. Iwanaga was swiftly arrested, and a notice sent to Fukuyama Station, the next stop for the overnight train, where Captain Adachi's body was then discovered. But why had these two young men killed him? The answer was simple, although the results were certainly bizarre. Both Nakajima and Iwanaga worked at an Okayama silk spinning factory. On November 30th, the men received their pay and went down to Fukuyama to spend their hard-earned cash. On the night of December 1st, the men caught a train back towards Okayama. Having run out of money, they planned to rob someone, but the train arrived at Kamogata and the men stepped out without having carried out their plan. As such, the men bought third-class tickets for the train heading back towards Fukuyama, and once again, got on board. This time, they fully intended to rob someone of their money and then escape. One might say their best-made plans were laid to waste, but that would be assuming the men had a plan to begin with. They didn't. Nakajima and Iwanaga made their way through the second-class carriage after they got on the train, and there they found Captain Adachi, all alone. A perfect opportunity presented itself, and considering that the captain was asleep, it was as though the gods themselves had gifted the two men this chance. They could rob the sleeping man with no witnesses and then flee into the night. The perfect crime. Obviously, it was not to be. Roughly 2 kilometers from Kamogata Station, Iwanaga pressed a small dagger to Captain Adachi's neck, and the captain woke up. He immediately struggled when he realized the situation he found himself in, and Nakajima soon joined the fray, attacking the captain as well with his own short sword. Before long, the captain was dead. Nakajima was a timid man, however, and he soon panicked upon realizing what he had done. Without taking any of the goods they had killed the man for, Nakajima jumped off the moving train into the pouring rain outside. He was uninjured as he landed in a muddy ditch beside the tracks. Being that it was winter, raining, and frighteningly cold, he soon made his way back towards Kamogata Station, and then entered the nearby police station to ask for help finding lodgings. While this was happening, Iwanaga also panicked, and, without taking any money or goods from Captain Adachi, also jumped off the train and made his way back towards Kamogata Station. However, unlike his friend, he returned to the station proper and entered the waiting room to wait for the next train heading back towards home again. And that was where the police found him after Nakajima's slip of the tongue. What had seemed like an opportunity gifted by the gods themselves rapidly descended into a comedy of errors that saw both men quickly arrested thereafter. On February 27th, 1899, only a few short months after the incident took place, Iwanaga was sentenced to death and Nakajima to life in prison by the Okayama District Court. Nakajima appealed his sentence, and on May 3rd, the Osaka High Court agreed. Sort of. The High Court amended Nakajima's life sentence to a death sentence, finding that he was equally guilty in Captain Adachi's death. After all, both men had attacked him. It wasn't just Iwanaga. Iwanaga and Nakajima were then both executed on October 30th, 1899, in Osaka Horikawa Prison. The death of Captain Adachi on board the second-class carriage uncovered a terrifying flaw in the train's design that soon caused rapid changes, however. The carriages of the overnight train were rather small, able to fit only 32 passengers each. These carriages were also self-contained, and did not have doors that allowed passage from one carriage to the next. Meaning that even if other passengers had heard the scuffle between Captain Adachi and his two attackers, they would have been unable to save him anyway. Captain Adachi was all alone in the second-class carriage, the same carriage that Nakajima and Iwanaga just happened to enter, and that, it seemed, sealed his fate. In response, a night guard was hired to patrol carriages after that, while new trains with connecting doors were then built. Captain Adachi's death was also later written into a play by author Uchida Hyakken, called The Cry of the Steam Whistle. The story was based on the events of that night. As a final aside, a similar event took place only a week later on the same line. This time, a 16-year-old geisha in training was aboard one of the third-class carriages along with 2 men in their 30s. The men robbed the teenager and then tossed her out of the carriage. Like Nakajima and Iwanaga, she was unharmed thanks to landing in the mud beside the tracks, but it once again highlighted a deep-seated flaw in the train's design that needed to be rectified. Neither of her culprits were ever caught. But what did you guys think of this one? Are there any other incidents from history that you'd like me to explore? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys again next time.